David, what do you make of what's happening in Paris? And we should also add, this comes just 9-10 months after the horrific attacks that unfolded at Charlie Hebdo.
This is very clearly an urban warfare style terrorist attack. It's a style of attack we've seen in a few different places. The first time it was really used by militants was in Mumbai, India, back in 2008, when you had militants, basically 10 militants, shut down the city for about 72 hours, taking hostages in a hotel, engaging in run-and-gun battles with police, engaging in a shootout at a train station. And an urban warfare style attack is very effective if you can launch it, because rather than just having one bombing and done, or you are able to cause terror over an extended period. That's precisely what's happening here. This is very much like Mumbai, with multiple shootings, 60 hostages being taken. This is really a nightmare scenario. And if you look at recent arrests of ISIS militants that happened over the past few days, the arrest warned that they were plotting something like this. There have been multiple arrests in Europe, moving back to January arrests in Brussels shortly following the Charlie Hebdo attack. And so we're seeing that kind of nightmare scenario unfold before us right now.
I know I'm putting you on the spot by asking you this question, but are you sensing any kind of links to ISIL, what's going on in Iraq and Syria?
Look, it's way too early to say. I mean, let me be very clear. If I were making a guess, I would guess ISIL. The reason being that they plotted very similar things recently. But that being said, after Charlie Hebdo, which you mentioned at the outset, ISIL was very quickly fingered as a likely culprit, and it turned out to be the work of Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. Go back a few more years before that, and the awful attacks in Norway, and that was carried out by Anders Breivik, who was more of a European nationalist. So it's too early to say, but based on patterns, that would be the group I'd focus in on first as a likelihood/possibility.
David, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Owen Fairclough, who lived and worked in Paris. He's sitting on the set with me, and he's going to ask you a couple of questions as well.
David, is there anything about Paris that makes it a target for this kind of thing? You mentioned the sort of urban-style warfare. We know that France has been on a heightened state of alert, certainly since the Charlie Hebdo attacks in January.
You've had a large number of French residents who've gone to Iraq and Syria. That's something which has put authorities on alert about France. You've also had a number of attacks throughout France. Going back to December, when you had a number of different stabbings/attacks against police. You had a beheading earlier this year. So more than anything, I think the fact that there is a population attracted to militancy there based on pure numbers, and the fact that Paris is quite easily the most prominent city in France is what has made it a target.
And David, from a law enforcement perspective, this is a daunting task, especially because the gunmen, the culprits, are still out on the loose. What is the first priority for law enforcement? Catching these guys, I'm assuming.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have multiple priorities simultaneously. One priority is freeing the hostages from the theater, dealing with the hostage situation. One is containing and capturing the people who are currently out there who had carried out shootings. And then another thing they're going to be looking for is, are there follow-on attackers? Are there copycat attackers? It's a very difficult situation for law enforcement to deal with.
And we're hearing reports that there could have been some 3 explosions at this stadium. From a security standpoint, how does that even happen?
Well, the early reports are that the explosions were around the stadium, not in the stadium itself. I would just caution that early reports, you always have misinformation that ends up becoming a large part of the story. So as far as I know, we don't have explosions in the stadium itself.
Understood.